Okay, here we go.
And then you have to hold up the Dell logo.
And then I have to hold up the here.
And be
Let's
like,
just do it like this.
It's about a commercial for Trojan's condoms. You need to do about that.
Okay, so straight to the hero 2. Hi guys, quick shout out to Romeo and all of my friends at Saturday Night Online, and thanks to Ask Anything and all the fans who submitted questions. We're gonna jump into them, and I'm gonna check some out right here on the computer on this little gadget they call a computer. Raymond from New Geneva asks, "What is our favorite song that we have made, or my favorite song?" I don't really have a favorite, Raymond. It kind of changes from time to time as we play them on stage. I think just like you guys, your favorite song switches around. I think for us, like we're playing the shows, the songs live, 4 or 5 times a week. So yeah, that changes as the tours progress. Sean from Northport asks, "How do you feel Living Things relates to your previous albums? Are you following in your roots or continuing in a new direction?" For us, I guess it's important to note that on the first 2 records, I felt like we were establishing ourselves. We were kind of putting a signature sound out there and letting people know what the band was about. And part of that is the first album was called Hybrid Theory because our band name before that was actually Hybrid Theory. And we changed our band name to Linkin Park before that album came out, and we just decided to use that as the album title because it was, kind of a philosophy of ours. Moving into the other records, I think we started to want to, play with other sounds, experiment with other directions, and we kind of felt like if we just did that same thing from the first 2 records over and over and over again, it would kind of be lazy of us to do that, even though we knew a lot of people wanted it and that kind of formula had already been proven successful. We wanted to take some risks and try out some other things. So that leads us to Living Things. The new album is kind of a moment in time where the experimenting has left us feeling really fulfilled and like we know all these different ways to make a song, and we've been away from that original signature sound for a long time, and now it feels fresh again. So we were able to kind of take all that stuff and mash it together and still experiment with some new stuff and put that in the mix too. I guess that's a long answer, but a way of explaining kind of the trajectory of the band and how we arrived where we're at. So it's kind of like old and new all at the same time, Living Thing. Allison. Oh, actually, good start, Raymond and Sean. Good start for these questions here. Allison from Toledo, Ohio, asked, "What's your favorite outdoor activity?" I actually like snowboarding. That's something I do on my off time. Other than that, like play basketball a little bit, stuff like that. I'm not good at either one of them, really, but I try, and they're fun. Oliver from Birmingham asks, "What inspired the changes in your music?" Well, going back to Minutes to Midnight, that's the first album. That was our 3rd album, and that was the first one we did with Rick Rubin. And the first time we met with Rick, he asked us, "What kind of album do you want to make?" And we all kind of voiced in one way or another. We told him that we wanted to kind of leave the original sound, the sound we were known for, leave that for the moment and try some stuff that was new. And part of it was that every time, I bring in a lot of demos that become songs for the band, and I was bringing in stuff, and it was just every time I brought in something that sounded like Linkin Park, everybody just kind of felt like it was boring. It was like we had done that over and over again, and we kind of knew it backwards and forwards, and it felt a little bit lazy. That's how Minutes to Midnight ended up being this like patchwork of all these different experiments. Like if you listen to Minutes to Midnight, you'll notice that each song is drastically different from the last one. We sequenced it that way so that it would exaggerate the differences between songs. That's why you get like Given Up right next to Leave Out All the Rest. Given Up's like a heavy punk kind of song, and Leave Out All the Rest is like a more electro ballad kind of song. We did that because we wanted it to feel dramatic and drastic to people. It was a series of experiments, really. And that, you know, for us, it's been a process ever since then of like challenging ourselves and learning new things in the studio. Next question is from James L. Where did the name Linkin Park come from? That's a great question, James L. The name Linkin Park is it was an actual park in Santa Monica, California. And when Chester first joined the band, he was from Arizona. And he came out and rehearsed. He tried out for the band. And if you know anything about the inner workings of this band, you know that we are the slowest guys ever to make a decision about anything important. Like, we've got to like triple check everything and really sit on stuff and think about it. And so when Chester came out, it should have been obvious, like, this is the guy. He's the singer of the band. He's so good. But we literally like kept him waiting for days. I mean, like, it could have been a whole week. And he's sitting there in LA, like, wondering if he needs to stick around or go home to Arizona. And, you know, he was married at the time. His wife's, he's talking to his wife. She's like, what are you doing out there? Like, what's going to happen? Like, come home if they're not going to bring you in the band. And he's like, I don't know if they're going to put me in the band. They haven't said. And he's watching us, like, try out other people. And eventually, thank God he had the patience to stick around, because eventually we were looking, you know, we realized like we were being stupid and he was the best singer. But in the meantime, he was staying, like, living in his car and like sitting in Santa Monica. He was like literally living on the street near Linkin Park in Santa Monica. So when it came time to change the name of the band, he brought that name up, and we actually all really liked it. As a side note, the reason for the spelling is actually because at the time, the internet was starting to become what it is today. It was just starting to become a thing. Like, people were just starting to be online for the first time and get email addresses, and there was like really no Google. So if you wanted to be found on the internet, you needed to be able to tell somebody, oh, we're at da-da-da.com, and Linkin Park, LinkinPark.com wasn't taken, so we changed the spelling of the name of the band so that we could get the .com, which is kind of, I don't know, it's like, it was indicative of like the kind of relationship that we've always had with our fans. Like, it's always been about the internet. It's always been about connecting with fans online, and ever since the very beginning of the band, we named our band that in order to be able to be found by the fans more easily online. Great question. Okay. Jordan from Chicago asks, what made you decide to do the Honda Civic Tour this summer, and what are you looking forward to most? Well, Jordan, the first thing that happened was that we kept running into Incubus out there on the road, and we had never, it's funny because I grew up like not even 15 minutes away from those guys. Like, we grew up in the same like neighborhood, and even after everything that's happened with the two bands, like, we've never played a tour together before. We played shows but never a whole tour, and we kept running into them at airports, at festivals, and whatever, and talking, and eventually we just started talking about a tour, and it was, you know, it's kind of nice to be able to kind of bring it full circle like that. Like, I think I've known of those guys for more than like 15 years, maybe more, and they, you know, this being the first time, it's kind of nice. And yeah, and thanks to Honda for getting on board and becoming a basically tour sponsor for it, and all that stuff. It's been really great. But yeah, we're excited. The tour dates, incidentally, are on LinkinPark.com right now. So if you guys are interested in seeing Linkin Park and Incubus, out there on the road this summer. It's going to be a really great tour. This is the first time that we're going to be playing stuff from our new album on stage. So that's a first, and the of course we'll be playing like the fan favorite stuff too. Where it's not, we're going to be playing old stuff as well. James from Aberdeen asks, what has been your favorite moment in your career so far? That's a great question, James. I don't know if I have a favorite moment. For us, a similar question that gets asked is how, as you go, I think you set goals and either you hit them or you miss them, and there are ups and downs, but at a certain point, I think for a band that's been at it for a while, once you have a moment that's a favorite, like just to answer your question really simply, like playing the Grammys with Paul McCartney and Jay-Z was big. Having our first record come out and do so well was a big thing, and we actually got it sold 10 million in the States, and we got the Diamond Award for that, which is a really rare thing. We were able to kind of, I think, like even putting out each record in itself is always a moment. Just being able to be to that next step in our creative, trajectory. But for us also, like just getting through each of those things and looking for the next goal, the next moment. I think for us, it's important to always stay fresh and to like keep flipping things up and keep looking at it, each song as if it's your first song, and each show as if it's something important and something interesting, because after you do something 1,000 times, like you can run the risk of it being like your heart not being in it, and we never want it to be that case. We always want to try and like keep each other in check and really like when you come to our show, we want to give you the best show we can. So I think for us, that's where our focus is trying to just making sure things stay exciting. If they're not, what can we tweak to make it fun for us and fun for you guys? Johanna from London asks, are there any songs that you guys like that people wouldn't expect you to like? I like a lot of different types of music, and I think a lot of it would be surprising to some people. If you have Spotify, I'm on Spotify. I have a lot of public playlists that include, random folk songs and indie songs and rap songs and all this, I think I can say that and it doesn't sound like crazy, but I don't know. I think I've even got like an MC Hammer song in my playlist, or I think the folk stuff is probably the most surprising. So check me out on Spotify. I think that one of my playlists just got uploaded to a different site. If you don't have Spotify, I don't know what that was, but you guys know what that is? It just happened like this week. There's other people in the room who are helping me not be a complete idiot. That information, if you want it, you can go find me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at m_Shinoda. That's SHINODA. And generally when I have a new playlist or some music that I'm listening to or stuff for people to check out, I'll share it with people. So follow me on Twitter. And, of course, on Facebook. I'm on there, too. And we'll move on. Amanda from Meridian asks, many people describe your sound, but how would you describe your sound? I have trouble with that. When we first started out, we got lumped in with a bunch of stuff, new metal, rap, rock, I've heard electro, metal, alt, whatever. I mean, all those things are, and I used to get mad about that, just thinking it was so short-sighted of people to try and shove certain bands like our band, for example, into a box. I mean, if you've used Pandora before, Pandora, you pick a band and it tries to make a radio station, a playlist of other music like the band you picked. And I turn on the Linkin Park station and I don't like it. I don't like what Pandora picks. as the Linkin Park station. It's not the stuff that I personally would listen to a lot of times. But then I used to get frustrated about that, but then I realized, like, well, there are certain bands who kind of just do their own thing, and it's hard to put them in a genre. If I go on Pandora and I put in Nine Inch Nails, if I put in System of a Down, if I put in, even I mean, there's lots of bands, Sleigh Bells and I don't know, MGMT or something. Like, there's a lot of bands that if you try and do that, it's hard to find connections to other artists in a genre because they've kind of done their own thing. And I think that's a good thing for us, If it's hard to describe, and it's just Linkin Park, then that's probably that's how I want it. Shannon from Ontario asks, how do you choose the order of the songs on the album? That is actually a very tricky endeavor for us every time, and I think on the most recent album, the way we did it on Living Things, we had all these songs, and we basically sat down with the band and with Rick. Sorry, I'm getting noise on my phone. We sat down with the band and with Rick in the studio, and we kind of did it like you would put together like a kid's train, like railroad tracks. You'd kind of put one down, and then you put another one, and you put another one, and you put the next one, and you go, I don't like that one, and you put a different one, and you just keep swapping them out, and once you got that one in place, you put another one. And so we'd kind of just go piece by piece and find out what flowed best into the next thing, and then we actually listen through the whole thing as we go, oftentimes, and although that takes a really long time doing it, it's actually also kind of fun. So if anybody out there who's watching is a musician and you're putting together an album, I personally recommend listening through it as you piece together your track listing, and try different ones and listen through each one and see what it does, and then pick the one that's the best. Good question. I don't think I've really answered that one before. Okay, what do we got here? Let's see. I lost my place. Let's see. Arginus from Charlotte. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. If you had the chance now to work with another collision course with an artist of today, who would it be and why? That is a great question. I don't know. For me, it'd be tough to pick one. The question being, like, if the Jay-Z thing came about because MTV went to Jay and they said, who do you want to do it with? And he said Linkin Park, and we all love Jay's music, so it was a kind of a no-brainer, I don't see, at this moment in time, there are probably very few artists that would work. I mean, like, I could see it working with, like, Eminem. I could see it working with, like, Dr. Dre, in the sense that, like, he's worked with a lot of artists. But it'd have to be somebody with a lot of, like, material, And there's a lot of younger bands and younger artists that I'm personally very excited about. Again, like, on my Spotify playlists and all that stuff, we also do have an online radio station, which you can find from linkinpark.com. All that stuff is just to say that I'm constantly listening to new music, and I love the idea of working with other people at some point. We'll see what happens. Maybe it turns into another Reanimation. I don't know. Okay. Andrea from Dallas asks, I'm really excited to see you on tour this summer with Incubus, two of my favorite bands. My question is why it took so long for you to do a tour with them, and will you perform on stage together? I would love to play on stage together. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see. It's kind of up to those guys, and I also, like, schedules during the day. I don't know how that's going to work, because we both have our whole production and whatever to get from one place to another. I actually have no idea. But the main thing is that we're super excited to be out on tour with them, and I think it's going to be a really cool thing. So I'm sure Andrea already has her tickets to the show, but if you guys don't, then head on over to linkinpark.com and you can get them. I do believe also that LP Underground members, that's our fan club, you guys, LP Underground fan club members usually get things like earliest access to tickets and chances at a meet and greet with the band. And actually, the meet and greets tend to be like you have a good shot at getting into a meet and greet. I think people think that meeting the band is like some far off thing that doesn't even enter their mind. But if you're a member of LP Underground, your chances of meeting the band are actually pretty good. And you can do that at lpunderground.com and check out all the other things that you get by being a member of the fan club as well. One thing that we do that's really special is we do LPU summits, which is essentially like a Linkin Park convention, but smaller, like 100 and they've traditionally been like 150 fans in a location, and we do like a 1 or 2 day event, and you get to meet the band. We take a big group picture. We sign stuff. You get to go on our stage. You get to touch or play our instruments. You can do a backstage tour with one of the band members. I've given tours to people before. Check out like the tour bus with our crew and all kinds of stuff. Really cool stuff. We've even had a couple of situations where fans have gotten on stage with our instruments and played one of our songs with our instruments. They played Faint one time. It was really great. There's like 3 vocalists and like the drummer was on it. He held it down. But yeah, so really cool stuff. LP Underground is where you can get the chance to do some of that stuff. Sarah from Lithgow asks, do you get to watch much TV on tour, and what are your favorite shows? I do get to watch a little bit. I'm not a big TV guy. Watch more movies than I do TV, but what do I like right now? Walking Dead, I'm just almost caught up on, and watch a little Game of Thrones, and a little bit of 30 Rock, a little bit of stuff like that. This is Meteorax, which is I assume it's a screen name. I hope that's not your real name. From El Cajon. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen during a live show from a fan or fans? Craziest thing. That's a tough one, buddy. One of the things that people love to that was really popular for a while is to send me pictures of this one show where some girl threw her bra on stage, and she just had the best aim, and it landed right on my mic stand. Like literally hit me on the face and like landed on the mic. Such a fluke thing. Like it's kind of embarrassing, but also because I don't remember if I think it hung there for a while, and I'm sitting there just like, it's kind of gross, to be honest, but it was funny. Yeah. Are we close? Looks like we got time for one more. Yeah, one more question. Okay. Let's look here. We'll try and make it a good one. Try and make it a really good one. Let's look around here. LP2K12. Oh, that's your Twitter handle. LP2K12 from Hudson, Florida, asks, you guys have had creative input in the way your albums are promoted and marketed. What would you say is the biggest change you've made in the way you promote and market your albums, from Hybrid Theory to Living Things? That's a great question, because there are actually so many ways we've changed the way we do it. And I'd start by saying that when it comes to writing an album, we keep those two things separate. The promotion, the marketing, all that, like picking singles and all that stuff, it doesn't even come into play when we're writing an album. Once we're done with the album, I personally have a great time getting involved in the promotion and marketing stuff. I just think it's fun. So one of the things we did on this new album that was really fun, I'll say 2 things. One was our scavenger hunt, and the other was our online listening party. Both things were kind of anchored in on Twitter, and the scavenger hunt was a worldwide scavenger hunt where fans had to go to physical locations and then interact. One thing that it did was they had to interact with other people from other countries. So it really brought the worldwide Linkin Park fan base together. And at the end of it all, we gave them the song "Lies, Greed, Misery." That was the prize that kind of got was given to the whole fan base. The other thing was the online listening party, which just recently happened. I challenged the fans to listen to the album on release date, because I feel like with the dates of an album's appearance spread out all over the place, like it leaks and then it appears in one country and then another country, and there's no event to it. So I said, well, when I was a kid, there was always an event. It was like it came out on a Tuesday and you went and listened to it. So let's try and do that. It's my challenge to you. Wait till release day, then listen to the album. They did that, and they actually added to it and made it even cooler. One of the fans suggested, why don't we do it on the 26th at 1 o'clock? We'll all listen to the album worldwide. And I loved that idea. I joined their listening party, which they were so excited about. And at the end of it all, people all over the world were listening at once on Twitter. We all hit play at the same time. We were talking about the album, sharing pictures, sharing videos. I was telling them little inside stories and stuff. It was really fun. If you guys want to see how that kind of went down, you can check my Twitter feed, or actually check my favorites, because I favorited a ton of people's reactions to the album as we went. Again, that was at @m_Shinoda on Twitter. I have to go, but I want to thank all of the fans who and the listeners of Saturday Night Online, and all you guys who submitted questions. They were great. And I just want to give one last shout out to Romeo for having me on tonight. For more info on Linkin Park or our tour, just click the banner above my head. And that's it. This is Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park. Good night.